gives much more evidence to the assumption that all blood-fueled machines are sentient, that all blood-powered machines can think and feel. This is
any goon?
Beat 'em up, we gave his nose back with an ice pack. Better than me, I gave his life back with a life hack. If I go to jail, I'll get Kais and send him right back.
You know you belong to me. I can bring your whole squad plus 3. You don't like to get told what to do, but you love it when I put you on a leash. All fours for me, all four for me. It's a good mistake. Even when I'm wide awake, I'm in a dream.
Oh, bro, I hit that. I hit that. Oh, come on, you got it. I gotta hit that. I gotta hit that. Hit that, bro. Come on, be for real. Be for real. Give me your honest critique, like it's America's Got Talent, bro. And you're the other guy. I forgot the Corel. No. I forgot the guy's name. But America's Got Talent, gang. Come on. I kind of hit that. Wrong again. Fuck y'all. Fellas, hey, bruh. Today, we got a video I've been wanting to dive deep into, bruh. Explaining the lore of Ultrakill so you don't have to buy linguine. Alright, the pasta. Fellas. Oh, I burped, sorry. I'm excited. Let me get my notes app real quick, bruh. Got my notes app. We chilling. From what I know, I know a good bit about Ultrakill. I was about to say Underverse. That's the next video, by the way. I know a good bit about Ultrakill. What I know is that obviously you play as V1. It has a lot to do with like God and religion, right? I think it's like a what if kind of scenario. What if, like, I forgot what the what if was, but I know it's a what if in terms of religion. What if God or Jesus did that? You know what I'm saying? Which is cool as hell to me. All right. What else? I know about the boss battles. I know about, I know about gameplay mechanics. Like, I know surface level things. I don't know deep. I don't know deep into the lore. I watched a Max Short video, and his was more like, comedy based, more like explaining the game summary, not really detailing the game's lore. So this is what y'all said for me to check out, right? But fellas, I'm excited. Lock in, bruh.
in the beginning, there was nothing, until God created the heavens and the earth.
You think God made gooners? Okay, I'm curious. Do you think God made gooners, or gooners were just a subsection or just created by man? You know what I mean? But if God created man and man created gooners, wouldn't gooners be created by, you know what? I'm going to ask a priestess. Did God create gooners? There we go. That's one. Sorry.
No, this isn't a video about Christianity lore. This is a video about Ultrakill lore. Ultrakill, if you somehow don't know, is a retro-inspired movement shooter created by R.C. Hokita Patala.
Who?
I definitely pronounced that wrong. I'm not finished, don't sue me.
It's fine. Wait, can someone sue for pronouncing something wrong? Is that, like, possible? Can you sue somebody for that? I don't know. Low-key, just sue everyone that calls me Huddy Dude. Alright, potentially suing anybody. And I'm playing. Actually, no, it's gonna be funny as fuck. Potentially suing anybody who calls me Huddy Dude. There we go. I'm playing. I can't afford a fucking lawyer.
Because Ultrakill is inspired by many boomer shooters like Quake, Doom...
I know it's inspired by Doom.
Devil May Cry.
Really?
Ignore that. The point I'm trying to get across is that Ultrakill isn't the kind of game to have much of a story. Booting up the game, there's no opening cutscene, no dialogue.
You're just right into it.
The most you get is this startup screen that's not much more than a fun way to make the initial setup screen feel like an in-universe thing.
Which is cool as fuck.
Other than that, this is very much the kind of game where you open it, get a gun, and just
mindlessly play, yeah.
Usually, there wouldn't be much to talk about, story-wise, with a game like Ultrakill. And if you don't go looking for Ultrakill's story, you can very easily miss the vast majority of the tale this game has to tell. Ultrakill tells its story through having surprisingly rich lore told to the player through environmental storytelling, flavor text, and books scattered throughout the game.
Really? I remember I was streaming playing Ultrakill once and they were like on my head because I missed the lore and I was so mad.
Usually, it's up to the player to put the pieces of this game's puzzle together, but I know that many people aren't willing to do that. So instead of having the incredible lore of Ultrakill be wasted, this video is going to be my attempt to explain the entirety of the lore within Ultrakill, go over some theories, and talk about a few of my own personal headcanons.
Okay.
Ultrakill is also, at time of writing, in early access. Currently, the final 2 layers of the game and the final Prime Sanctum haven't been released.
Bruh. And this was like 11 months ago. You know what? These parts, I'm gonna fill in my own blanks. Alright.
But this story is yet to be completed. But with that being said, I will explain everything we know as of June 2024.
Alright.
Spoilers. Duh.
Thank you. I guess we'll never know about the Ultrakill lore because Wix decided to put an ad right here.
Great ideas can come from anywhere.
Not really. I don't think anyone has ever came up with a great idea in the middle of like a war or something. You know? What, you think anybody came up with a great idea while like having sex? They probably have, I ain't gonna lie. What if like someone had a great idea while like, I don't know. What's the most dumb thing someone's ever like experienced? Oh, a GTA 5 loading screen and a 2K, I want to say 2K18 Paul George loading screen of death.
With Wix,
I think it was 2K18, was it? I don't know. I know it's 2K, Paul George loading screen, Cuddy. But beat my ass. Part 1. The beginning of everything. Vague title is vague. There we go.
I started this video by referencing the Bible. It's a niche book, you might not have heard of it.
Yeah, low key.
Ultrakill's story starts at the start of the book of Genesis, with God creating the heavens and the earth. The heavens were made as a utopia for angels to exist within God's light. God's light is an incredibly important plot point in Ultrakill, and yet, for such an important plot point, we know almost nothing about what God's light actually is.
So it's Bible fan fiction. That's what Ultrakill is. Alright. It's an AU. Religion AU. The Undertale fan base got to indeed.
We know it somehow keeps archangels alive, as when Gabriel is severed from the light, he only has a day to live.
Damn.
But we know nothing.
Okay, Mr. Beast challenge. Gabriel got a Mr. Beast challenge. There we go.
Nothing about what it is, how it works, and who can actually control it.
Okay.
Obviously, God can control it, but it's shown within the ending of Act 1 that powerful angels can control it as well. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's take it back to Ultrakill's story of creation. We don't know exactly when God creates mankind, but we do know that he quickly grows angry with the self-destructive nature of humanity. God decided to give mankind free will with the hopes that humanity would choose the path of good and choose to assist one another for the betterment of all.
Okay, what was God's final straw that like broke the camel's back? Also, that's part of my notes. God had faith in humanity. Humanity failed. There we go. But what was the straw that broke the camel's back? Did like somebody like, oh my god, somebody like they were playing, there were solo queue and Marvel Rivals were ranked, bruh, and he was being petty. They took my mates. I'm like, I'm gonna throw. That's it. God, just that was enough. He got up from his chair. I'm done. It happened to him himself. God was solo queuing, bruh. That's my headcanon. Headcanon. God was solo queuing ranked and got sold. Last straw. Alright, that's the headcanon. I can't tell me no different. Shut up.
You and I are both humans, so I don't think I need to explain why God describes mankind as a failure and free will as a flaw.
Oh. Well, I didn't do nothing.
The testaments found at the end of the secret levels give us almost all of the insight we have into God's feelings towards humanity.
God's diary canon
decides to leave humanity to their own devices and start anew with another world, another race of beings better than humanity.
Okay. Open a new world. A new save file. There you go.
A race that lacked free will and followed God's law. Failure after failure after failure after failure after failure after failure after failure, the results refuse to alter. Uncountable cycles of creation wasted, uncountable formulas for a mind without free will wasted. These testaments
So God just sucked. I'm playing the game. No, I'm playing. Let me chill. I'm about to say all this shit. I guess when my times come, this is what keeps me from going in, bruh. Oh, so you said this, that, and the third about an Ultrakill lore in 2025 when you were 21? Sorry, buddy. You're going with Hitler. What?
tell us very clearly that God stuck to his word. He created countless worlds with countless different races that lacked free will, and all of them fail.
Which race was the closest?
After failing to create a perfect world that lacked free will, God begins to lose faith in such a task even being possible.
That's cool.
So in a fit of rage over humanity's continued survival, the survival of the one race left for dead, God created hell.
So, okay, humanity infuriated God. Oh, the indomitable human spirit. There we go. I can't spell shit. Created hell, essentially. Okay.
And in an incredibly important revelation, he can't unmake it.
No, I can.
God in Ultrakill is not omnipotent.
Why is God in Ultrakill such a, bum? I'm sorry. Hey, Cuddy, my God would never. Okay, God in Ultrakill just sucked. Okay, yeah, he just sucked at playing the game, bro. My God would never.
He is not all-powerful. He is flawed, just like how humanity is flawed. Countless failures to create a perfect race threw God into a fit of rage where he damned man to an eternity of suffering for what is ultimately God's failure.
Exactly, so it's God's fault in this game.
The idea of a God that isn't all-powerful completely contradicts the typical ideas of many of the major world religions and sets Ultrakill's God aside as a unique character rather than a stand-in for the typical notions of God we think of. This idea of a flawed God continues on and only grows stronger as the testaments progress. When asked why he would create such a thing as horrible as hell, God has no answer.
He got rage, baby. Ultrakill God got rage baited. Perfect.
No matter how evil humanity may be, eternal damnation has no justification even in God's eyes. The guilt of what he has done to humanity, the regret of not being able to undo what has already been done,
A non-cancer.
eats away at God. God weeps over what he has done. He falls into despair. He loses all hope. He looks for a way out of the world he created, but in his eyes, he has only caused pain and misery for everything he has touched. Unfortunately, the terminals end there for now. The final terminal is not yet released, but we
What if it just changes everything on its head? God lied.
do know one more thing about Ultrakill's God. God is dead.
Oh.
Or at least he is no longer present in this world.
Alright, so he pulled the he pulled a deadbeat. Deadbeat. God in Ultrakill's a deadbeat. There we go.
The Father's presence one day vanished from heaven, never to be felt again. The death of God causes panic to spread amongst heaven. A power vacuum to be filled once more, to replace the role God filled. But the replacement that answered the call
I gotta sneeze, hold on.
wasn't one to be celebrated.
Who? Who came into power? Death stains the auditorium. Okay. Die.
Why should people join us on May 15th?
Bro, this garbage ass AI voiceover, bro. Who spent money on this shit?
The game's changed. There are a bunch of things happening right now.
Bruh, shut up, bruh. Damn. The Council of Heaven. The Council of Reeds. Why? Oh.
The void created by God's departure was filled, presumably quite slowly, as will become more apparent in the next section, by what became known as the Council of Heaven, a body of an unspecified number of powerful angels that would carry forward the Father's light, lead heaven, and most importantly for the story of Ultrakill, ensure the husks in hell continue to receive punishment as usual. We don't know much about the angels of the council, but we do know that they command a huge amount of authority and respect among heaven.
Why? Okay, angels. Is it right? Those angels?
We don't know much about the angels of the.
Okay, angels in Ultrakill are glazed. There we go. And quote in parentheses, Duke Dennis. Like, why are you glazing a person that's so they're just mysterious? Okay.
Council, but we do know that they command a huge amount of authority and respect among heaven, as shown by how subservient Gabriel is to the council.
Well, Gabriel's a dick rider. All right, that's another. Gabriel, meat muncher. There we go.
As far as we know, Gabriel is by far the strongest angel across all of heaven, and yet even he kneels before the council.
Damn.
I believe this is because the council somehow is in control of the Father's light. We still don't know what the Father's light actually is. We don't know how the council gained control over the Father's light, but we know that control over it essentially gives the council unlimited power over the citizens of heaven, and if angels don't follow the orders of the council, they will not hesitate to carry out executions in the form of severing the Father's light.
Holy moly. Okay. Council is just the CIA. There we go. Took God's light. In parentheses, God's light. What's the equivalent of God's light here? In like the US. The internet. There we go. Just cancel anybody like a
I believe this is how the council maintains their grip on power, despite the lack of God's presence. The council ensure that those banished to eternal punishment in hell receive that punishment, and they send down Gabriel as their pawn to put down any perceived insurrection.
So Gabriel's just a meat muncher. Okay. Hey, 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 hey. The lust renaissance.
The departure
of
God isn't just felt by the citizens of heaven. The sudden disappearance of God is felt by those in hell as well. Angels sent down to hell to make sure that the damned receive their punishment quickly return back to heaven in the chaos, and for the first time in eternity, those in hell can breathe for a moment.
Okay.
King Minos ruled over the last layer. As the judge of hell, he decided what layer damned souls would end up going to. However, he always had some sympathy for humanity. Minos didn't believe that humanity should be punished for being lustful. He believed that loving one another wasn't a sin punishable by eternal torture.
Okay, so Minos based. There we go. Watch, you about to say some shit. Minos also believed racism was completely fine. Oh, okay.
And he seizes the opportunity. Minos rebuilds the lust layer into a paradise within hell and builds a grand city within the layer for the husks.
So he just made prostitution legal. Okay, Minos made prostitution legal. There we go.
Now citizens of Lust to live in. This is why I think the formation of the council took a long time. Building a city doesn't happen overnight, and yet the city of Lust becomes a giant thriving metropolis. Of course, as we know, the council does form eventually. Of course, as we know, the council wants to make sure that those in hell receive their punishment. So of course, the council is not a big fan of what Minos has done to the Lust layer.
Okay, so the council are just people that took their job too seriously. The council are those coworkers. People that took their job damn seriously. Could he lighten up, you bitch-ass loser? Fuck the Ultrakill Council.
Yeah. Enraged at the news of the construction of the City of Lust and the Lust Renaissance as a whole, the council decides to send down Gabriel to end the Renaissance by any means necessary. Minos chose not to fight back.
What?
Minos believed foolishly that Gabriel would listen to reason. Minos believed foolishly that Gabriel would ever listen to Minos' pleas about the plight of man. Gabriel cut Minos down without a fight.
Gabriel is such a bitch! Okay, Gabriel, loser. Minos, goated. So Minos is trying to talk to actual Gabriel to explain, actually talk to him like man, I guess man, not man, angel to angel, I suppose. But then Gabriel's gawking this shit. Gabriel gawk levels are insane. What a bitch.
The death of Minos almost immediately ended the Lust Renaissance. The citizens of Lust were once again subject to the eternal torture. However, this time, the decay of their hard work is now thrown on top of it all.
Damn.
Because of Minos' immense status and will, his death wasn't the end for him. What remained of Minos' soul began to form together in an attempt to create the first known Prime Soul.
That's a Prime Soul. I mean, Prime. Is it Prime or Prime?
First known Prime.
Prime, like the drink. Okay. Prime Soul. I'll put a dash. Get ready to see my notes.
When a person has enough will, power, and status, their soul becomes powerful enough to exist without the need for a husk. This incarnation of a soul...
Okay. So, when a person wants it that bad, they don't need a husk. Got it. Now, who do you think in like the actual Earth realm, like today, will be a prime example of a prime soul? Me, hoodie dude, I have indomitable. Shut up, loser. Could you quit whenever you quit whenever you fail the math test game? Shut the fuck up, you bitch ass loser. Me personally, I feel like I'll be a good prime soul. I feel like I could. On y'all's mama, on everyone's mama. Hoodie dude equals prime soul. There we go.
Is immensely powerful. Powerful enough to strike fear into the council itself. The size of the husk formed from a corpse of a person is directly proportional to their will and strength. In other words, if someone is strong enough to become a prime soul, their husk will grow to immense sizes.
Husk grows according to soul power. So would Shaq have a prime soul?
The council decides to kill two
Or Andre the Giant?
birds with one stone here. They rush to imprison the soul of Minos before he can form into a prime soul, so he remains harmless within the flesh prison for eternity.
Damn.
But they make sure to imprison Minos within his own husk. His husk that becomes infected and controlled with parasites. His husk that begins to destroy the city he worked so hard to create. The terminal entry...
So Galactus is a victim of Goon virus. Oh, also Minos. That's D Gooner. That's not. He's D Gooner. Let me put this in bold. The Gooner. There you go. There's Gooners and then there's the Gooner. Minos is the Gooner.
For Minos Prime confirms that Minos is fully aware of what his husk is doing to his creation. Minos is helpless within the flesh prison and has no choice but to watch his hard work get torn to shreds by his own body.
Damn.
With the Judge of Hell dead, the council decides to make Gabriel the new Judge of Hell.
Oh, fucking course. Alright, Gabriel got a bullshit ass promotion.
With his newfound status, Gabriel would continue performing the council's will and shutting down any other attempts at making life better for those in hell. Whether they do it through peaceful means like Minos, or whether they decide to take a different approach.
What makes Zaxby's
Bruh.
giant chicken finger quesadilla so giant? Crispy fingers, salt.
Big back.
The departure of God from the world was felt as deep down as the layer of greed within hell.
Okay.
Greed was another kingdom
This chair is hilariously small. Yeah.
within hell, ruled over
Let me try my
by
brightness.
King Sisyphus.
Okay.
Sisyphus was
King Syphilis. I can't spell syphilis. Hold on, wait, I can. How do I spell syphilis? What do you do, detours? King Syphilis. How do you do? It says Sisyphus. Shut the fuck up, it's funnier.
not a righteous person like Minos was. Sisyphus
And he got cheeks. King Syphilis, thick as fuck.
didn't care for the misery
Cause he got, damn.
and the suffering of his people in greed. Sisyphus didn't really care about his own punishment.
Okay. King Syphilis. Nonchalant. You got the gooner, the nonchalant, and the dick rider. This is a great start, dude.
He found great enjoyment within the struggle,
Okay.
and with the departure of God, he saw an opportunity to fulfill his own selfish desires. The greed insurrection is portrayed as just that, an insurrection. An army of husks from greed, led by Sisyphus, on a mission to take down heaven and the tyrannical council that rules it. But I think that there is a much simpler motive at play here, a much more selfish motive. I think Sisyphus spotted an opportunity to have some fun in causing a war. Sisyphus knew from the start that he was not powerful enough to take down heaven, and he certainly knew that his army was almost useless against the power of Gabriel and the angels.
Damn. His army sucked. No faith in army. Parentheses, sucked.
But Sisyphus didn't care. He was bored of the eternal punishment, and he had grown to enjoy the futile struggle of it all. So when he saw the opportunity to do something new, to start a big fight, and to start a fight he knew he couldn't win, he took it.
I'm not gonna lie, I kind of fuck with syphilis. That sounds so fucking funny. So, he was just bored as fuck. I kind of, okay, syphilis. Kind of funny. Not gonna lie. He's kind of cool. I fought with syphilis. Okay, also he did it against Gabriel, so fuck Gabriel.
The insurrection swiftly caught the attention of the new judge of hell. Gabriel quickly went down to Greed to stop the war before it even began. Gabriel knew that taking down Sisyphus would cause the army to disband. Gabriel decapitated Sisyphus with ease,
Damn, that fast?
and the army disbanded almost immediately without their leader. Just like Minos, Sisyphus began forming into a prime soul upon his death. But something was different about Sisyphus.
Could he turn into a lucky block?
Minos formed into a prime soul because he dared to defy heaven and attempted to end the suffering of the people of lust. Sisyphus didn't just defy heaven, he actively sought to destroy it. The sheer amount of spite within Sisyphus meant that he began forming into a prime soul significantly faster than Minos.
No, I'm not. I kind of okay. Syphilis. Okay, syphilis is base as fuck. It's cool. Syphilis is he's cool as shit. Syphilis became a prime soul off of pure spite, off of pure hate. That's deep. I fought with syphilis,
He
gang.
was significantly stronger than Minos, and he posed a massive threat to heaven.
But it
King
became Sun Wukong.
Sisyphus had the will, but not the power to destroy heaven. Sisyphus Prime has no such limitation. His soul was not imprisoned within his corpse like Minos was. He was placed in the flesh panopticon
Of the UK, dude. Jack the Ripper ass domain expansion.
2 layers down in heresy to make sure he is as far away as possible. The power of Sisyphus' soul meant that the angels were rushed to imprison Sisyphus. By the time they finally managed to place him within the Panopticon, he had already begun to form into a prime soul, which is why he breaks out of the Panopticon himself as soon as it gets slightly weakened. His corpse was strung up deep inside the pyramid he once used as a throne room. The location of his decapitated head is a mystery to this day.
Really? That's okay. Head is mystery. Mysterious head. And I will provide no context. Of course.
Laundry can be really...
Okay, buddy, it's not that bad.
Ew.
It's just a worm.
But your washer doesn't...
Shut up. Whoa! Nevada.
Hell is alive. Hell is sentient.
Oh.
Hell is a living being that became too strong for even God to destroy.
But God created it!
How do we know Hell is alive? The enemies getting teleported to your location as you play the game is explained in-universe as Hell teleporting them to you, just to start a fight for entertainment. The doors locking behind you as you play the game is
Hell.
also explained through Hell locking them to force you to fight for its entertainment. The enemy description of the Minotaur has a redacted section within it that consists of 2 words. The first word has 4 letters,
Hell
and the
itself.
second word has 6 letters.
ITESE. What? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, it does. Okay. ITSEL. It's 11:56. Shut the fuck up.
I don't think it's much of a coincidence that Hell itself perfectly fits this redaction.
Okay, so Hell is just a hater. There you go.
The husks in Hell that have mechanical augments, like soldiers and schisms, can also be explained by tinkering from Hell itself. Hell, being a sentient being, can learn of machinery by observing humanity and begin to incorporate machinery into its own creations to enhance them as fighting machines.
Is that why these guys know basketball? That Hell was an NBA fan. He liked Giannis. There you go. That's why they dunk.
This isn't the only case of Hell observing humanity to create horrific ways to torment humanity. Humanity's creation of the Gutter Man was such a horrific abomination that Hell took direct inspiration to create the Mannequin by ripping apart sinners' limbs and rebuilding them from mismatching parts or trapping a soul within the new abomination.
Hell was the OG Dr. Miami. Or maybe Dr. Miami is Hell. There we go. My own theory.
The idea of humanity being capable of a creation so terrible that even Hell looks at it and recognizes how terrible of a creation it is something I will get into later on.
That's hilarious, though, my opinion.
Hell energy is the mechanism of which Hell does all of this. Like the Father's Light, we don't know exactly what Hell energy is, but we know it's used for a variety of different things. Teleporting in enemies uses Hell energy.
Okay.
Locking doors presumably also uses Hell energy. And it is my belief that Hell energy can be a replacement for blood as fuel. I believe this for a few key reasons found within the violence layer of Hell. In 7-2, there is a secret book containing a poem that I will go into much more detail later, but for now I am interested in a single extract. I believe when the writer, which is almost definitely a gutter man, but again I'll get into that later, states that they no longer need the fuel provided by the body inside of them, that this is because they are now being fueled by Hell energy.
Okay.
The body inside of the gutter men has decayed and rotted beyond the point of being useful anymore,
Fuck you, do not disturb.
I highly doubt that this skeleton, after countless centuries after the creation of the Gutter Men, is still producing enough blood to fuel these machines.
Alright.
On top of this, the machines of violence are simply too old to have made their way into hell naturally like the other machines.
It's hot as a bitch. Hold on, let me turn. Honey, this is so unprofessional. I don't know why you don't do this before recording. Shut up, Luke. That's why you're unemployed. Fuck off. Hold on. That's hot as a bitch, man. I'm about to be sweating like I'm about to look like a damn sauna. You feel me? Ah, all right, there you go. Lock in for real. Let me lock in. Let me lock back in. Let me lock back in. Let me lock back in. Other people studying for STEM majors. Me learning about Ultrakill lore. I say I got him beat.
The oldest known machine that made its way into hell.
What the fuck? Hi, I just want to record videos. Why is the fucking phone connected to my car? Why? Always something. Goddamn something with this. Ah!
Hell is the Sentry, but that was repurposed specifically for the Hell Expeditions. Remember the Hell Expeditions, they're going to be important later.
Okay.
The Gutter Men and Gutter Tanks were centuries outdated by the time of the Hell Expeditions, and so the odds of this many surviving this long, making it this deep into Hell, seems unlikely. What seems more likely to me is that these machines have been placed in violence deliberately.
I think that just killed itself, dude.
By
Are they sentient?
Itself, fueled by Hell energy, so they can continue fighting an eternal war without the need for fuel. Another piece of evidence I have for the machines in violence being powered by Hell energy is the fact that the Earth Mover
What the fuck?
requires sunlight in order to be powered, but there is no visible sun this far down in Hell. So the Earth Mover must be getting some form of alternative power source.
Hell
and it's
energy.
my belief that these growths that tie the Earth Mover down to the floor are there to form a physical connection between the Earth Mover and Hell itself, to provide a large amount of Hell energy to keep these Titans fighting, to replace the need for solar power, to keep the final war from truly ever ending.
Jesus. Hell energy is the reason war exists. There you go.
Okay, if there's one
I wish you could just watch the movie, like not movie, but there's a little video about ads.
site builder you need to meet, this is dope tech from Wix.
No, shut up. Get your bag, but fuck Wix. The final war. Okay.
The Final War is one of the most important and expanded upon events within the Ultrakill timeline. A whole layer of the game is practically dedicated to the Final War. This conflict lasted about 200 years and saw the first instance of blood-powered machines not just in the history of war, but in the history of mankind. The Final War brought humanity to its knees, brink of extinction, and in the end,
that Big Ben?
The war didn't end with a bang. It didn't end with a purpose. It simply fizzled out after the destruction it caused became too much for the war to sustain itself anymore.
Oh, that's cool as fuck. Okay, the final war ended because shit just ended. There we go. Why no? What a poet.
The Final War is also based off a real-life conflict, one you've probably heard of.
What, World War II?
The Final War is actually Ultrakill's version of World War I.
Oh, World War. Oh yeah, World War I, the war to end all wars. Yeah, that makes okay. World War I in hell. Wonder Woman? Question mark.
Now, why would I make such a claim?
No, it makes sense.
Well, remember that startup screen I glossed over earlier? Right at the top, it tells you the version number of V1, 2112.08.06. It is known that the production of the V model of robots, the production of V1, was cancelled due to the war abruptly ending. It is known that the final war lasted for 200 years. The format of 2112.08.06 is the same format of a date that tells us that the version of V1 we play as was made in the year 2112, 198 years after the start of World War I. Another piece of evidence? The Gutterman's terminal entry tells us that the Gutterman was used in the first era of the Final War, soon after it began, an era of trench warfare. What war in history is famous for trench warfare other than World War I?
Well, I think a lot of wars use trench warfare, I'm not gonna lie.
The Final War is a variant of World War I that doesn't end in 1918, one that escalates and escalates until the Earth itself can't take anymore. The Final War brought more than just the blood-fueled machines to the table. All of the heat and electric weapons you and enemies using Ultrakill were developed for the Final War, as they became more powerful and more economical than bullets when fighting Guttermen. The Gutterman itself is a very—
So what started World War I again? I forgot. Who did do Detour? Alright. Wasn't the assassination of Franz Duke, or was that World War II? Oh no, okay, that's World War I. Assassination of Franz Ferdinand. Franz Duke, my dumbass. Archduke Franz Ferdinand. So if you're lonely, just know I'm here waiting for you. But anyways, okay. So the assassination of Archduke Franz Ferdinand caused the final war for Ultrakill. Okay. Who assassinated him? Wait, hold on. I'm curious. Alright, Gavrilo Princip. Alright, this guy started a final war in Ultrakill. Okay, hold on. Gavrilo? Gabriel? Whoa! Maybe. Princip started final war. There you go. Little dickhead.
very interesting enemy lore-wise. It was the first blood-powered machine to be created by humanity, and as is with most new technologies, it was yet to be perfected. In the case of the Gutterman, this meant that researchers were not yet able to keep a self-sustaining supply of fresh blood circulating around the machine. The solution to this problem is the reason Hell was so intrigued by Guttermen. The solution to the blood supply issue was sealing away a live person in the back of the Gutterman.
Cool.
And siphoning away their blood to fuel the machine.
So, Guttermen had people as backpacks. That's cool as fuck, though. How did they go about choosing which person would go? All right, you draw Rule 34, you gotta go. Into the backpack you go. Oh. You sold Marvel Rivals games because you got your favorite character took, your main took, you gotta go. You're trash at 2K, you gotta go. You're an Asmongold fan, gotta go.
These victims were kept on the brink of death to minimize their energy consumption. Not quite dead, but not quite alive either. Those locked away in the Guttermen claimed to be willing volunteers.
Cap as fuck.
Heroes even. But in all likelihood, it would have been prisoners of war.
Exactly.
Forcefully put inside these monstrosities.
They capping like a mug.
And sent off to decimate their former colleagues.
Alright, let me just put this emoji. Just cap. There you go.
We don't know whether those inside the Guttermen were aware of what was going on outside of their coffins.
I'm assuming, I'm assuming so because of the explosions and shit.
But we do have evidence to suggest that Guttermen themselves became self-aware due to their blood supply. The terminal entry in P-2 suggests that the terminals gained their sentience due to the fact that they were powered by blood. It's not a stretch then to say that all blood-fueled machines gain sentience at some point. The secret book in 7-2 gives further evidence to Guttermen being sentient. The book doesn't have a specified author, but from the perspective it's written, it can be inferred that it is likely a Gutterman itself that wrote the poem. The poem is addressed to
Alright, Guttermen, let's see their writing first before I type this note, let's see.
Mother of me, and makes reference to pained breaths reverberating within an iron tomb. We know that those—
Oh my god. Alright, Guttermen can write. Also has a stutter. How do you know it's a stutter, hoodie dude? This is how. I'm a genius, don't worry. Look at this, look at this, look at this. Look, bruh. Mother. I know. Goddamn, bitch, stuttering ass.
And makes
Spit it out,
reference to
bitch.
pained breaths reverberating within an iron tomb.
Oh my, I love how descriptive that is. That's
We know that those trapped inside the iron coffins and the gutter men were still technically alive and would have continued breathing inside the gutter men.
Yeah, how would they have written, though? How did they write? Did they write inside the back of the Gutterman, and when the Gutterman died, they just, like, found, like, the literature and shit?
But likely with great difficulty. The blood of your breast that nourished and warmed me only serves as further evidence to suggest that the author of this poem is a gutter man. A gutter man that has gained self-awareness and is fully aware that its own existence is fueled by the torture of its mother within its iron womb.
Oh.
The revelation of the gutter men being sentient.
So, okay, I thought it was the person inside the control. Oh, okay. Guttermen, sentience, and aware bums are in their... Volunteers, sorry. Or in the backpack. And call it mother. Guttermen... Mommy issues? Question mark. There we go.
Gives much more evidence to the assumption that all blood-fueled machines are sentient, that all blood-powered machines can think and feel. This is
Any goon?
further evidenced by the fact that some machines literally get enraged after you counter them in some way. They literally get mad at you as you fight them, which is a pretty funny way of making enraging an in-universe concept. Reading more of the poem makes it clear that the writer, again, likely a gutter man, has gained sentience because of whatever it's keeping it alive. It is aware that the person keeping it alive would despise the gutter man and wish it never existed, but simultaneously it is the torture of the person in the gutter man that is what gives it its sentience. The gutter man seems to feel sorry for the person that gave it life, and so when the time comes that the gutter man no longer needs the tortured soul to keep it alive, it tries to make things right by crushing the skull of the person inside the coffin.
Oh, neat.
Ending their suffering once and for all.
How thoughtful. You're gonna shake him, you're gonna dry him up like a raisin and then kill him. Truly thoughtful.
The lore behind the gutter man, specifically, is one of the darkest and most expansive pieces of lore that Ultrakill has to offer.
I think it's kind of funny. Like, imagine these volunteers. I'll volunteer. The first couple ones probably were volunteers. I'm not gonna lie. There's gonna be some Iron Man too. They're gonna control. That's probably what they were given. You're gonna be able to control them, man. You're gonna be able to control them. Move mountains of rock. Yada yada yada. Whoop de whoop. Do you want to, soldier? Yes! It's like some fucking guy fresh out of high school, just excited to do something with his life. I'm ready. And then 2 seconds later, he just turns into a husk. He turns into a catatonic state.
The more you look into these machines, the more you begin to understand just how terrible of a creation they are.
Yeah.
Understanding how the Guttermen work makes it much more clear why even hell itself would take notice of the Guttermen and attempt to replicate it with the mannequins.
Average Elon Musk creation. There we go.
After the initial creation of the Guttermen, blood fuel technology greatly improved, with the need for a living source being eliminated from later machines. However, the improvement of blood-fueled machines of war began a completely new phase of the war, one that would continue until the very end. The arms race had begun.
Wait, what? Oh, so there's them trying to fucking one-up each other. It's like comic book writers. Why did that one have titties?
Guttermen were incredibly powerful weapons of war, being airdropped into enemy trenches and clearing out entire trenches on their own, so the enemy responded with new and improved machine design to counter the Gutterman, which was creatively named the Gutter Tank. Quickly going backwards a bit, the Gutterman is most likely a Russian creation as it has Cyrillic characters on its body, and the Gutter Tank has German letters on its body. Russia and Germany were enemies in World War I, so this just gives further evidence for the final war being World War I.
Okay. Gutterman, Russian, Gutter Tank, German.
Going back to the gutter tank now. The gutter tank kicked off the arms race portion of the final war. By designing a machine to counter the gutter men, the need for a machine that countered the gutter tank was suddenly needed. Then, a machine to counter that machine, and so on.
Okay.
We don't know much about what machines were made when, or even how many machines were created during the war, with us only getting small insights, such as the Sentry being a product of the war. But we do know that this arms race culminated in the creation of the Earth Movers.
Earth Move? That's so cool!
The one.
Damn, World War I is that serious, gang? Lordy!
1000 THR
These motherfuckers ruining the game I love. What happened to boots on the ground?
Earth Mover, also known as the Earth Mover, also known as Benjamin. No, I will not elaborate.
Okay.
Is the pinnacle of the arms race. Developed at the end of the final war, these towering behemoths were capable of flattening entire cities in one go. These machines were so large that even the advanced blood-fueling technology this late into the war was not enough to power the Earth Movers, and so
I would assume so.
They relied on solar energy to fuel them. This is
Earth Movers solar powered. And bitch move. There we go.
an important detail, because the sheer chaos and destruction the Earth Movers brought upon this world caused a climate catastrophe due to how much pollution was put into the atmosphere from all of the destruction. All this pollution...
How many hippies were like involved in creating Ultrakill? Hippies created Ultrakill. Not even a dig or nothing, this is jokes, I love it, this is fun.
Blocked out the sun across the Earth and led to the beginning of the long night. The sun was complete.
That is so cool! Okay, the long nights created because Earth Movers blocked sun. Hakeem? Question mark? No DPOY level defense.
Be blotted out during the long night, and the surface of the Earth had sustained so much damage that it became uninhabitable for humanity. So humanity was forced to move onto the backs of the very machines that were destroying the planet. The Earth Movers came equipped with a huge energy shield to protect them from other Earth Movers. This, ironically, made the back of an Earth Mover the safest place for humanity to go in order to survive extinction.
I wonder how the process was to get on one of those Earth Movers.
Because an Earth Mover was designed to completely counter other Earth Movers with its shield, the final frontier of the final war was also fought on the back of these titanic beings. While the Earth Movers were locked in a never-ending stalemate with each other, smaller machines used the bodies of the Earth Movers as the new front lines. This is where the V model of robots came into play. V1 was designed as the machine to counter the Earth Mover. It's small, fast, incredibly efficient, and most importantly, it can refuel by absorbing blood through a new experimental type of plating. I say that V1 was designed with a specific task of countering Earth Movers because of our encounter with one in 7-4. Upon stepping out into the war zone, the Earth Mover immediately changes targets from its counterpart in the distance to you. Instead of aiming at the Earth Mover in the distance and continuing the stalemate, the Earth Mover in front of you almost immediately turns to V1 and prepares to strike V1, leaving itself vulnerable to the other Earth Mover in the distance. What I'm getting at here is this giant machine that brought upon the end of the world identifies V1 as a larger threat than another Earth Mover. Which is why
V1 goated.
I personally believe that V1 and the V model of machines was designed with the intent to bring down the Earth Movers. However, the development of V1 was cut short by the sudden end.
Who the fuck designed all of these robots? I'm being so serious. Like, they did a phenomenal job. Hold on. Motherfucker, Tony Stark. Tony Stark created all these weapons. Like, lordy. Like, who designed V1, bro? You did a phenomenal job. Holy moly.
The long night is what ultimately caused the
Also, another question. Is it alphabetical? Like, for example, is it A1, B1, C1, D1? You know what I'm saying? Or did it start with V1? Like, I'm assuming maybe it did start with V1 as, like, version 1. But it'd be so much cooler just like A1, B1, D1, C. Like, see what I'm saying?
war, with the Earth movers being reliant on solar power to stay running, they all slowly died one by one. With the war being completely reliant on these giant machines, humanity didn't know where to go from that point.
They were cooked.
So the final war ended, not with a bang, but with it slowly fizzling out and extinguishing itself.
Jesus
There's a short
Christ.
book that can be found on the back of the Earth movers we fight in game. There's only one page with writing, and the text is in all red, spaced, capital letters, leading many players to assume that this book is written by hell itself. War no longer needed its ultimate practitioner. It had become a self-sustaining system. This line reveals how, by the age of the Earth movers, the war no longer needed humanity to continue. Instead, the war had become nothing more than machines fighting other machines with little to no regard for the will of humanity. Man was crushed under the wheels of a machine created to create the machine, created to crush the machine.
It's such a cool... Hell can write. Okay, Hell does not need Grammarly. There you go.
This phrase literally, we can infer that mankind was not in control of the war past a certain point.
Yep.
It became more efficient to design a machine to design machines for the war. Ultimately, the machine designing machines would get caught in a runaway cycle of endlessly designing more and more powerful machines to keep countering the machines designed by the machines. Humanity lost control of the war at some point, which truly makes the final war a war without reason.
Oh my, fuck off. Yeah, look at me. I'm even quick. You want? Shut up. Part 7. The new piece. Written by robots.
After the eventual end of the final war, humanity was forced to face the consequences of the past 2 centuries of destruction. The war may have been over, but there was much work to be done before the world could go back to any sense of normalcy. This period of time after the final war was known as the new peace, and in direct contrast to the final war, this period of time was filled with humanity coming together in an attempt to overcome the destruction the final war caused.
I don't know if they can.
Blood fuel technology was repurposed for a worldwide cleanup effort to try fixing the climate catastrophe and ending the long night. Despite the vast majority of blood-fueled machines being created during the final war, most of the machines we find in-game are actually products of the new peace.
Really?
Street cleaners were created towards the very end of the final war in an attempt to clean up the copious amounts of pollution within the atmosphere. The end goal of the street cleaners was to end the long night. It's unknown whether this goal was an attempt to make the planet habitable once again, or whether it was an attempt to prevent the shutdown of the Earth movers. But we do know that street cleaners were eventually successful in their task and made obsolete sometime during the new peace. Long-ish side tangent here, street cleaners are actually very interesting in the fact that they have the ability to vocalize to some extent. Vocalization for a machine is a strange phenomenon that appears to once have been experienced by all machines, but has since been discarded by many machines in order to save on resources. It is unknown what led to machines being able to vocalize. Perhaps it's a side effect of the blood fueling process. Perhaps it was simply programmed into the machines to assist them in wartime communication. Whatever the cause, only a handful of machines still retain any level of vocalization, and those that do still vocalize struggle to manage more than a few tones. Street cleaners, swords machines, drones, earth movers, gutter tanks, and potentially even gutter men and V1 all either directly vocalize or at least show signs of still being capable of vocalizing. It's unknown why these machines continue to spend resources on this unique ability, despite the seeming shortage of blood, driving the machines deeper and deeper into hell in an attempt to stay fueled.
Maybe they become more human.
Side tangent aside, humanity decided to keep using...
I'm gonna write it down. Alright, vocalization. Because they want to be me. Yeah, totally me.
...fueled machines into the new piece. Considering the destruction these machines brought to the world, it brings to question why humanity would ever choose to keep using these machines. But no answer to that question is given. We do know that the technology behind the machines of the new piece is directly derived from the machines of the final war. The V-model series of machines was initially created as the ultimate wartime fighter, with V1 being designed to take down Earth movers as I spoke about earlier.
Yeah.
But with the end of the war, V1 was left completely useless.
Yeah.
Not wanting to lose their investment, the creators of V1 decided to repurpose the V model to fit this new peacekeeping role with the creation of V2. V2 was designed as the ultimate peacekeeper by taking the combat capabilities of V1 and putting them into a more durable frame.
Oh. V2 created to keep the peace.
Without the experimental plating of V1. V2 ultimately failed, just like its predecessor, as
V2 failure.
It was deemed too expensive for a single unit to be used for peacekeeping purposes. V2 was thrown to the wayside just like V1, leaving only one of each prototype in the world. The V model was abandoned in favour of cheaper peacekeeping alternatives, like the drones and other machines that were either developed during the new piece or repurposed from the final war. We don't know how long the new piece lasted, but we do know that at some point humanity was searching for a new source of energy to power their new world. And during this search, humanity managed to discover the gates of hell. Of course,
one does, yeah.
Humanity's curiosity was too great to ignore, and the Hell expeditions started soon after.
Hey Jada Smith, welcome back, buddy. Light on your fit. Garbage ass ad. Fuck out of here. The Hell Expedition.
After the initial discovery of Hell, humanity set out to explore this new world as soon as possible. To achieve this, humanity started repurposing old machines to scout out Hell without risking human life. Street cleaners, drones, and even the old sentries were repurposed as scouts to lead the initial explorations into Hell. To accommodate this massive exploration project, a large facility was built outside the gates of Hell, which is later known as the prelude of the game. While we have no concrete confirmation that the prelude takes place on Earth, it can be assumed that V1 doesn't enter Hell proper until it opens the gates of Hell, which means that it's likely the prelude actually takes place on Earth in some capacity. After the machines had made their way deep into the depths of Hell, humanity felt it was safe to start sending manned expeditions into Hell to explore it in more detail and attempt to find a source of energy for use back on Earth.
Okay.
But humanity was completely oblivious to Hell's sentience. Slowly, the expeditions began to run into roadblocks. Doors would inexplicably lock with seemingly no reason, trapping explorers and machines deep within the layers of Hell. Then, unknown creatures began teleporting in and out of rooms all over Hell and within the Prelude facility. These creatures were hostile towards machines and humans alike.
Figured.
This, combined with the locking doors, meant that the Hell expeditions became incredibly dangerous and casualties started to rise.
Okay, Hell expeditions, shocker. Hold on, Hell expeditions were bad. In parentheses, shocker. Who would have guessed? Who would have thought? Who would have thought?
The P2 ARG gives us probably the single best piece of insight into what happens towards the end of the Hell expeditions. Hell observed humanity, learning from it. Hell observed the machines humanity sent into it.
What if God became Hell? What if God... Because Hell is alive, God is nowhere to be found. What if God, in all its pity and rage and anger, manifested into Hell itself? Hold on. Theory. God became Hell due to sheer anger and frustration. Right? And Hell acts as God's maybe like OC, bruh. To like little V. God's a V. Ultrakill God. VTuber uses hell as, I guess, the tube. I don't know the vocabulary, but whatever. As an OC to represent his anger and wrath towards his own failings. There we go.
And learned from them. Spare parts and pieces of machines kept disappearing, and of course, you and I know exactly why this is. Hell was taking humanity's technology and fusing it with the souls of the damned to create half-machine, half-heart abominations like schisms and soldiers. The random teleportations and the locking of doors wasn't some sort of defense, it wasn't even an attack.
It was just
for entertainment.
Yep.
With this new revelation, calls begun to ring out to end the Hell expeditions before it was too late, before Hell gained too much information about humanity.
And took over.
But it was already too late.
Oh.
We don't know what happens next.
Hell is a big back.
All we know is, shortly after, humanity went extinct. There are several theories as to what caused the extinction of humanity. Some believe that there was some form of machine insurrection due to a lack of blood caused by the new peace. Some think that perhaps Hell itself took over the machines and either
I assumed it took over.
Convinced them or directly controlled them to exterminate humanity.
Yeah, I think that one.
Others think that Hell itself directly caused the extinction of humanity.
I feel like it's number 2.
In some way, was it using the path created by the Hell expeditions to access the surface? There isn't any concrete evidence for anything regarding the extinction of man at time of writing.
Okay.
All we know is, for sure, that the Hell expeditions sealed the fate of man and led to the mass migration of what remained of the machines into Hell. With no life left on the surface, there was no blood left for fuel. So if the machines wanted to survive, they had no choice but to enter Hell.
What if the Hell's expedition info game, like what? Okay, so we are aware the fucking robots are sentient, right? So, what if the robots, with the creation of the new piece, the robots were already made for blood, for fuel, but with the creation of the new piece, that essentially fucked them up. Y'all seen Naruto? Y'all remember when Sasuke went actively to seek Orochimaru because he wanted more power? What if the robots did that, but instead of searching for power, they were searching for fuel? It makes sense, though, because, Hell, it's blood. And then, because of that, Hell kind of struck up a bargain saying, you can be up here as long as you pack up humanity, because fuck humanity. Why? Because Hell might be a manifestation of Ultrakill's God seeking revenge for being garbage at the game. Boom, solved it. He wants the sense.
The main story of Ultrakill follows the only prototype V1 model known to be in existence, as it descends into Hell on an endless quest to kill everything it sees and make sure it has enough fuel to survive. V1 is shown to be much more capable at combat than every other machine, due in large part thanks to its experimental plating that allows it to refuel and repair itself on the go. V1 is in fact so good at making its way through the layers of Hell that it catches the attention of Gabriel himself. Gabriel confronts V1 in the gluttony layer of Hell.
Fuck Gabriel.
Where he commands V1 to cease its descent into Hell and return to the surface.
Machine, turn back now. The layers of this palace are not for your kind. Turn back, or you will be crossing the will of God.
Of course, V1 ignores this command, and so Gabriel confronts V1 directly, planning to dispatch of the machine the same way he dispatched of Minos and Sisyphus before.
Your choice is made. As the righteous hand of the Father, I shall rend you apart.
This is so cool, dude. I love Gabriel's voice actor. Oh, fuck
inanimate
off.
Once more.
But V1 was different. V1 is the culmination of the Final Wars arms race, a machine created with the specific task to take down an Earth mover. Gabriel stood no chance, and his defeat caused him to explode with rage.
What? How can
they become
this
a prime soul?
Bested by this thing? You insignificant fuck! This is not over!
And he just farts.
I can only assume that V1 is one of the only machines Gabriel confronted directly, since so many machines are found in layers deeper than Gluttony, which leads me to believe that Heaven took specific notice of V1 and its destructive capabilities and felt the need to act.
Intervene, yeah.
When Gabriel returned to Heaven with news of his defeat, the Council delivered incredibly harsh punishment.
Bitch!
Putting to use their absolute control over the Father's light. They collectively decided to sever Gabriel's connection to the light as punishment for his loss.
Loser got demoted.
The Council hands Gabriel a simple ultimatum. Defeat V1 or he will die within 24 hours. This enrages and humiliates Gabriel and makes him obsess over the destruction of V1, not only to restore his life.
So Gabriel is V1's reverse Flash,
but also to restore his pride. V1 continued its unstoppable advance down into Hell, even overcoming and eradicating its successor V2. V2, as I mentioned earlier, was supposedly an upgraded version of V1 with a more durable design to better fit the new piece, but its peacetime design proved to be no match for its wartime predecessor. V1 was designed for the war, within the war, to end the war, and its triumph over V2 solidified V1 as potentially the single strongest machine within Hell. Gabriel decided to wait down in the heresy layer of Hell to once again challenge V1 and attempt to stop its advance through Hell. Gabriel's monologue before his encounter in 6-2 reveals that the rampage of the machines through Hell is causing individual layers of Hell to go extinct.
Limbo, lust, all gone, with gluttony soon to follow. Your kind know nothing but hunger, purged all life on the upper layers, and yet they remain unsatiated. As to you, you've taken everything from me, machine, and now all that remains is perfect hatred.
He's literally reverse Flash.
By the time V1 reaches Gabriel and Heresy, both Limbo and Lust are completely void of all life, with Gluttony on the brink of extinction. Hell was not designed for machines of war. Hell was initially strong enough to keep the machines under control and even use them for entertainment, but I wonder whether at this point in the story, even Hell has lost control of the situation unfolding within it. After V1 and Gabriel's second encounter ends with Gabriel being defeated for the second time, Gabriel is forced to come to terms with the fact that he might not be able to defeat the creation of man. Forced to come to terms with the fact that he may die. Gabriel sits there by the fire, deciding on what he's going to do next. Gabriel decided to take his death into his own hands and send a message to heaven.
What?
The council hall is stained with blood, and the screams of the councillors one by one.
And he killed the count. I like him like Gabriel now. Gabriel killed the council. That's
get cut short. The last councillor begs and pleads for his life, reminding Gabriel that without the council, he will soon die.
And that's what he said the words, God is
Gabriel
dead.
is already aware of this. He has come to the realization that God isn't coming back.
He's dead.
And that this world is coming to its end. With one final swing of his sword, Gabriel ends the tyrannical reign of the council and seals his own fate.
Oh, my eyes!
Are you really gonna miss
my fucking god.
this?
We do
No,
this
I'm not, I'm
training
not.
once a year. There's 800,000 to 1 million people that'll join us.
Cuddy, well, those 800,000 million people are fucking losers and dweebs.
Throughout Ultrakill, there are several different terminals spread throughout each level, and on a surface level, these are nothing more than an in-universe way to show the player important information and menus. But these little boxes are much more complicated than meets the eye. These machines are alive, they are sentient, and they are bored. Most of the information about the terminals comes from, ironically, the terminals at the end of the Prime Sanctums. This means that we are missing at least 1/3 of the data about these terminals, but already, with just 2 terminal entries, we gain a lot of insight into the purpose of the terminals. The terminals were initially placed within Hell to assist with the Hell expeditions. They served as a method of reliably transporting items through the different layers of Hell via radio waves. The original item is lost and converted into information before being received and reconstructed by another terminal.
Okay.
The only known item to be transported this way before the Hell expeditions were cancelled was a vinyl record, the song that plays whenever you open up the terminal in-game. The terminals use this music to lure machines towards them for reasons I'll get into shortly. They're only known to play an instrumental version of the song, but rumour has it that they are able to play the vocals when alone. Shortly after the end of the Hell expedition,
Okay, uses music as trap. Evil PCs.
Better communication equipment was developed, and mankind managed to briefly remake contact with the more advanced machines. It's at this point that the revelation that the terminals are made sentient is made clear. The terminals are bored sitting in Hell, and so they seek entertainment. The terminals lure machines using their music in order to trade with them. The machines, in return, record their adventures throughout Hell and their fight for survival. The terminals will then watch the recordings for entertainment and grade the recordings on how entertaining they are.
Oh, CD. Okay.
This is potentially the style meter that appears in game. The terminals developed a crude social hierarchy based around how good the recordings they collected are. The terminals managed to gather enough battle data to create an infinite battle simulation.
So everything's just based off entertainment.
Machines to freely record infinite amounts of fighting without fear of death. The terminals gathered this much data before the extinction of humanity, so who knows how much data they've gathered by now.
I wonder who the worst one was. Look, John Jones.
Began to make humanity aware of the sentient machines they accidentally created with blood-fueled technology. But for now, we don't know what they did with this information.
It's like that Toy Story fucking movie that got deleted, dude. They just lost it all.
We'll have to wait for P-3 to get the conclusion to this part of Ultrakill story.
Okay. Oh, there's more.
Ultrakill is a very simple game on the surface. You get a gun and you go shoot some enemies. But if you choose to dig deeper, you uncover a vast world that spans several different eras, storylines, and emotions, all coming together and combining into one cohesive narrative. Considering that it's the first game made by Hakita and just a handful of other people, the world building is fantastic.
Phenomenal.
It was enough to get me to create my first long-form video essay. The first video I can actually feel proud of making and put actual effort into. Of course, by the product of this being my first venture into this kind of content, it's gonna be rough around the edges. I may have gotten some things wrong.
It's not that bad, man. Hey, Luigi. Linguini, not that bad.
But I tried my best to get my facts in order.
Right, that was, hey, clap it up for my man Luigi, Linguini. Why aren't you clapping? This was phenomenal.
If you enjoyed this video, then please consider leaving it a like and share it with anyone you think may be interested. This kind of content isn't what I usually make, and as a result, this video is probably going to get buried by the algorithm, so...
Well, thankfully it didn't, bro. You did phenomenal. 2 mil?
Appreciate it. And thank you for listening.
Bruh. You thought I was playing... Support these original creators, bruh. Support these original creators. Support these original creators right fucking now. I'm being so dead ass, bro. That's so goated.
Listening for this long.
Of course. This was gas as fuck. Fellas, this was a phenomenal video. I love the game now. I'm now an Ultrakill fanboy. I never thought this would arrive from Indie Cross, but I love it, and I love y'all so much for putting me on to peak, bruh. Y'all have not let me down. Well, to be fair, y'all suggested I watch Skibbity Toilet, but you know what? There's never gonna be nobody's perfect. But fellas, that's gonna wrap up today's video, bro. I don't know how long this video is, man. But that's gonna wrap up today's video. If you liked the video, let a video know. Don't even know. I don't give a fuck. Bye. Oh wait, no. Almost forgot my notes. Almost forgot. Did God create gooners? ? Potentially suing anyone who calls me hoodie dude. Vague title is vague. Bible fanfiction. Religion AU. Gabriel got a Mr. Beast challenge. God had faith. Humanity failed. Headcanon. God was solo queuing right then got soloed. Or got sold last straw. God's diary collection. Yeah. Open a new save file. So God just sucked playing the game. Indomitable human spirit created hell. God and Ultrakill just sucked. Ultrakill God got rage baited. God and Ultrakill is a deadbeat father. Angel and Ultrakill are glazed. Duke Dennis ? Gabriel Meat Muncher. Council's just the CIA. Took God's light. The internet. Minos base. Minos made prostitution legal. The council are just co-workers. Or just losers. Gabriel loser. Minos goated. Gabriel Gawk levels are insane. Prime Soul is when a person wants it that bad, they don't need a husk. Hoodie dude equals Prime Soul. Husk grows according to soul power. Galactus is a victim of goon virus. Minos the gooner. King Syphilis thick as fuck. King Syphilis the nonchalant. No faith in army. He sucked. Or Syphilis had no faith in his army. Syphilis kind of funny. Syphilis is base. Syphilis became a prime soul for pure hate. Mysterious head. I forgot the context already. Hell is sentient. Hell is just a hater. Hell was an NBA fan. He liked Giannis. Hell was the OG Dr. Miami. Dr. Miami is hell. Hell energy is the reason war exists. The final war ended because shit just ended. World War I in hell. Gavrilo Princip started final war. Gutterman has people as backpack for fuel. Gutterman can write also has a shutter. Gutterman sentient and aware of volunteers on the back calling mother. Gutterman mommy issues. Average Elon creation. Gutterman Russian. Gutter tank German. Earth movers solar powered and bitch moves. Hippies created Ultrakill. The long night created because Earth movers blocked sun. Hakeem Olajuwon reference. V1 counters Earth movers. V1 goated. Who the fuck designed all these robots? Tony Stark created all these weapons. Hell does not need Grammarly. The new piece. Street cleaners. Vocalization because they want to be me. V2 created to keep the peace. V2 failed. Hell expedition were bad. Shocker. God became hell due to sheer anger and frustration. Ultrakill God VTuber uses hell as an OC to represent his anger and wrath towards his own failings. Hell is a big back. Gabriel is V1's reverse flash. Gabriel killed the council using music as trap or terminals. Everything is based on entertainment. And fellas, that is going to be the Ultrakill lore deep dive. Shout out everyone that recommended me check this out, bro. That was a phenomenal watch. I love this. I love it. But fellas, that's gonna wrap up today's video. If you liked the video, let me know. I don't give a fuck. Bye.